Hi everyone, it is Michael Harp and I wanted to hop on and answer some questions I got recently. I did a video just saying hi to everybody, but I asked anybody who had questions to email me, and I got some questions come in that I wanted to cover today. I will say that if I cough, I apologize right now because I'm still dealing with some congestion and coughing, but I got my tea and we're all set up. I've got my Tibetan bowl here. I love that sound. What a beautiful way to start. So welcome. With that, I also wanted to light a candle for us today. These questions that came in, some of them repeated, like some people had the same question. So I kind of just, if they were really similar, combined them. But I don't want to cover too many questions today, but I did want to see what came up. So the first question that we have that came up is, what is the meaning of this virus? And that is a big question, right? That is a really big question. And I didn't prepare in any way before doing this because I really wanted to just be in the moment and channel my own spiritual team, which includes Kuan Yin and Saint Germain and Merlin, Archangel Michael, Raphael, Gabriel. I mean, I have access, like we all do, access to a lot of great ascended masters, but they're really asking us to go into ourselves and our higher selves and channel ourselves, because, and this is going to be the reoccurring message over and over again, is we have to go in ourselves, heal ourselves, discover ourselves, because really that is the whole purpose of so many of us at this time. It's really the purpose of everybody, is to realize who we are and to release the dogma, to heal the trauma, to look at the emotional triggers that we have and assess them about why we have them and are we ready to release them. And that's really the journey that we are all on right now. Now, that journey includes living in duality. We live in a society, this whole earth plane existence is an experiment, an experience of duality. And so when people talk about this virus, I see a lot of that duality playing out. You know, you can look at where this virus came from, but what I really love about this virus is what it is, how it's empowering people. So what is the meaning of this virus? I'm going to go to oracle cards for that one because I don't think it's a simple answer. And I really do want to have some assistance in trying to ground to the information that's going to come through about that. So let's dive in and let's pick out a oracle deck about the virus, about what this is, what the meaning of it is. And I'm looking, and I'm getting this mystical shaman oracle, and I apologize for moving the camera all around. I have them all set up there underneath that camera and it just moves. This one is well boxed, so it's going to take some getting it out here. And let's see what we can find out about this virus from the Mystical Shaman Oracle. And this is a beautiful deck. It's a much larger deck than, well, the packaging is a lot larger. The packaging comes in a box, within a box, and the manual, the book that comes to it is much larger. And again, you know, I've said this before, I love the pictures that come with these decks. They're just so absolutely gorgeous. So I'm going to ask these oracle cards, what is the meaning of this virus? And let's see what kind of answer and insights we can get. This will be a way to inspire different layers of information. And so I'm going to pick out 3 cards. Oh, I should show you. I also have brought in my crystals here. These are amazing. They're very earthy because they're green. They're also very heart healing, which we're all experiencing right now is the need for heart healing. That is huge in us right now. All this extra energy that's going on is really instigating our need to look inward and look at the things that we're being triggered by and healing those wounds, and they're like layers. I've been doing this for 30, 40 years for myself. And really the last space it seems to be within me is healing in the heart. And it's very related to past lives and past, not only my life, but, we are part of what they call a monad group, which is our soul group that we all come from, where we're connected to other souls within a family. And, it's not only me, but healing that whole group. So we're not doing this just for ourselves. We are doing this for so many more layers. All right, cards are falling out. All right, so the first card I got was water. I'm just going to look into this water. The water to me, as I'm looking into this, really reflects that water reflects. So there's so many reflections that happen around this virus. Like, it's not just one thing, just like water isn't just one thing. Water can be typical water, but it also goes into steam. It goes into solidifying, like in ice, and it also vaporizes into the air. And I'm feeling like this virus is the same thing, like it's an evolution. Just like water evolves in its different stages, this virus is evolving into different stages, where it may have had one meaning when it started out, and then it's evolved into another one, into another meaning, and into another meaning. Which means to say that, there's a lot of information out there about, how this virus started, whether it was organic or whether it was manufactured. And really it's almost irrelevant, because what the important thing is what we're experiencing now here in this moment. So despite how it might have started out, what we are experiencing in this moment is the important thing. And if you look around, there's so many beautiful benefits to what's been going on. And I'm not trying to minimize the effect that it has had on people in a negative way. But for the majority of us, this has been a time where we can retreat, go into ourselves, return to our homes, go into a slower pace. We are in this day and age so inundated with, the technology, with responsibilities, with our careers, with our family, that all of those tend to create a stress factor in us because we're trying to do everything. And the beauty that we've had out of this virus is literally being told to go home, stay home, and relax into not doing as much. We've literally been told to do that. And I don't know if you have noticed this in your neighborhoods, but I know I actually live in a fairly rural community, and I know my neighbor kind of, maybe wave to them across the street. But I have experienced that a lot more people are out walking, a lot more people are connecting in a daily way, if not daily, weekly, in a deeper way of checking in to make sure that we're okay, which has never really occurred for me before with any of my neighbors. And it's really beautiful to see this community coming together in that way. And that's in just the micro way of, in this little instance, my neighbors. It's also happening throughout the internet. People are connecting in that manner also, in a deeper, it feels like to me, sense than they have in the past. And that is beautiful. So it's an evolution of what is happening. And this virus is not only affecting our interactions with one another, it is affecting everything on a global scale. How we go to school, how we pay our bills, how even we've gotten money. Have we ever seen the government give us money before to pull together such resources to assist our society in moving through this in a manner that it's not completely devastating to everyone? Now, it's not perfect, but what it is it is change, and it's change that probably would never have happened without the catalyst that has happened through the evolution of this virus, like water. Water has this ability to wear down things. If you imagine in a river with river rocks, how smooth they are. They've been worn down by water. And it's a very gentle wearing down, but it's very persistent, it's very consistent, and water is so beautiful because it follows the least resistance. And maybe the virus is like that too. Excuse me. In that it's following the least resistance. So water will not try to move a rock so that it can go down a stream. It will separate and go around the rock, right? So it's wearing the rock down in the long term for the change, but in the immediacy of its ability to move, it moves around it and it keeps flowing. It never stops the water just finds another way, right? And again, that returns to the virus. Whether it was this virus or something else, it would have happened. Something would have created this change. Chaos has to happen to create great level change. And if we're all in agreement that that's what we're currently wanting, that we are wanting to move into the fifth dimension, that can't happen without change. So the virus, as I'm talking, has been a great catalyst for us to be able to move towards this much faster, in a much greater way than we would have ever seen without the chaos that it has created. Now, chaos has consequences, right? But what I want to reassure you is that nothing happens to us without our higher self soul agreement. So even if there have been deaths, it's my personal opinion that the higher self had a level of an agreement within this. So how beautiful is it that we can look at something that is as chaotic as a virus and realize that it's the catalyst that's moving us forward towards the thing that we're really wanting. It is uncomfortable for us on occasion because we are comfortable in what we're used to. But if we're, again, in agreement that we want to move towards that 5D, that we want to move into a better way of doing things, that we want to move into the new earth that is being created literally by our dreams of what is possible, then we have to also ride those rough waters over the big boulders or around those boulders to allow us to get to the downstream, to the ultimate goal of what we're looking for. And that's where we're at. We are literally in the rockiness of the rough waters, the white waters of this river to get to where we want. But there's so many gifts within that, because that is, with water, again, returning to water. I mean, this is powerful. The water cleanses itself by moving through rocks also. That is a manner that it cleanses itself. It is, it correlates its energetic pattern. It regroups itself. It recharges itself by going down a rocky stream. And there's a lot of fascinating information about that if you ever want to get really deep into about water and the movement in a stream and how it recharges the water. So I love this card for the virus. The second card is wild woman. And this to me goes back to the chaos factor of all of this, right? Let me just feel into her for a moment about the virus. So when I feel into this, you know, when I look at this card, this feels like fire. Fire being the transformation, which again is what we're going through at this time. And I look at her, and even though there's this huge fire going, look at what a peaceful expression she has. And she's not worried about the transformation that's happening within that fire. She's looking up. And I feel gratitude, like what a wild and crazy ride this is. And so thankful that I'm here at this time experiencing this profound moment of what's going on Earth right now. And back here, this could be a moon, but what I feel when I see that is like the new moon, where it's not a full moon, but the new moon, when you don't see it because there's nothing reflecting back off of it. It's there, but it's not white like a full moon would be. It's a new moon. And new moon is about new beginnings. It's about a new start. It's the time to really focus in on what you want to manifest, because the full moon is about the manifestation. The new moon is about creating the concepts that you're wanting to manifest through the process of the next couple weeks. And so when I see this as the new moon, new beginnings, new starts, new ability to articulate, to visualize, to imagine the possibilities of what's coming next. And when I say coming next, I mean literally the new earth. We are here to bring out this new earth through our wants, our needs. What do we want out of this new earth? How do we want to live on this earth? And one thing that I've heard repeatedly being created on the new earth is nature. We love our nature. We love being able to see the beauty. And I'm looking outside because I have trees in the back and I have nature. And I was moving my lemon tree. My lemon tree is portable. It has to come inside during the winter. And we were moving it out further into the sunshine because it was just a little too much in the shade. I was enjoying it there because the birds were landing on it near a bird feeder. And it was just so beautiful to be able to look out from our sunroom to the lemon tree and see all these birds utilizing this utilizing the tree as this little stopping point before they go onto the bird feeder. Excuse me. But I literally could hear and feel the lemon tree going, I want more sun. I need more sun. And so we pushed him over into the corner of our deck so that he could really receive the benefit of being in full sunlight for a longer period during the day. And he was just so happy. So I'm looking out there, looking at that nature. And nature, like I said, is what we want to create for the majority of us. And so it is going to be a huge part of the earth, the new earth. But what else would you want in your earth? You know, I have friends who, say, don't use plastic straws. And I understand that it's coming from a really good place. But personally, I would like to be able to find a way to deal with the garbage in a much better, much proactive way. There are ways you can deal with garbage that completely disintegrates it, and that the end product is a benefit to the earth. But they don't utilize them because it is an expensive technology to get started in, and people are stuck in the old way of doing things. It is just easier and cheaper to put it in a landfill, pile it up, cover it up, and walk away. But it's not the best way. It's the cheapest way. It's the easiest way for them in this moment. And when I think about the new earth, I think I want technologies that are smarter, that are wiser, that utilize ways of doing things that are not detrimental to the humans, to nature, to the animal kingdom, that it is beneficial for everybody, and it is possible to have that. So when I think about the new earth and about the ways and things that I want to create there, you know, that for me is huge. The peace, the smartness, the ability to be authentic and be ourselves in a realm that is not under oppression, really, right? So when I look at this wild woman, about the new moon, about creating what we want, about her ability to be in full transformation right here and right now, but she's not really worried about this transformation. She is focused on appreciation and manifestation of the next stage. Beautiful. Anything else here? I feel like these bracelets she has represent a couple things. She's got these bracelets on, and one of them to me, or I get two vibes on it. One is the repression of the past, like being chained up, and that repression, but it's being transformed. But I also get, because right before I started this, I put on my Isis bracelet. And this bracelet is a chunk. I mean, it is like putting on Wonder Woman's, what does she have? Those cuffs of truth or something to defend herself. And I feel like that these bracelets, while it may in the past have been to chain us, to repress us, that we can transform those also, to transform them into an empowering concept, to transform the bracelet so that instead of having a sense of repression, instead it's a liberation. And I remember the day I got this bracelet, I had been at a workshop that Isis had been a part of, and she had done a really powerful download with all the attendees, and it was very transformational for me. It was very healing. And I remember, you know, in the back they had all the jewelry, and I went into the back and I was going to get a simple little bangle to match my other little bangles, because I actually have here, this is actually Isis. It's only appropriate that she come forward. That's Isis. I had these little bangles, right? And I stand up to this counter with all this jewelry, and I reach for it and I put it on, and swear to God, I could feel woof. And I was like, wow. It is like putting on Wonder Woman's cufflinks. It is empowering. It's making me, it made me then, it does now, stand in my truth. It makes me focused on what it is that I want to achieve. And it reminds me that I'm not alone, that I have a whole servitude's a terrible word, isn't it? Like they're all servants to me, which is not true. They see themselves as very helpful to me, just as they want to help you. But there is a full array of ascended masters and angels and archangels and elementals. You know, I use the dragons, and you can use unicorns and fairies. They're all different energy, organized, conscious organizations, conscious unity of consciousness of these different realms. And they are so willing and so wanting to assist us in this time. They're so helpful. And when I put on this cuff, it reminds me I'm not alone. It reminds me of my own empowerment. And so when I look at her cuffs, while those cuffs may have in the past been to hold her down, to restrain her, it's time to transform those too. We are no longer being constrained. And that's what this virus is about too. We do not have to be constrained. We are being loosened. We are being transformed. It's time to see way beyond the little piddly things that are happening in our day-to-day life. Look at the big picture. Look inward on what's going on with you. It's all about you. So I love that picture also. And then there's the owl. Oh, look, and he's got the moon. So the owl is the wisdom that we receive from all of this after it's transpired. This is the gift of having walked through this time. And I am so honored to be here in this time right now with all the huge things that are going on right now. The owl is the gift of wisdom and knowledge that we will have by the end of this. It's going to be easy to be distracted while we're walking through this experience of this virus, of all the consequences that are going to happen. But by the end of it, we are going to have the wisdom and the manifestation of what we had intended in the full moon, new moon. Remember, the new moon, we were creating what we wanted. The owl is about the new full moon that has achieved that manifestation. So if you can see the transformation of the water and the different stages it has, just like the virus, you can see how as an individual you can look at this transformational thing, but really it's the benefit of looking forward and what we're manifesting. And then once we've manifested, we have that wisdom, we have the knowledge, and we sit in complete peace with it. Oh, look into those owl's eyes. Look at those. I mean, what a direct gaze going, you know why you're here. There may be a level of it coming into your conscious awareness, and that sometimes takes time, but your soul knows, and it's not going to let you forget. It won't ever let you forget why you are here. And it's guiding you every single day. It may not be as fast as we always want. If you look at my last video, that was me, right? Complaining about, look, I want to do this and I want to do it now. And the reality is it's happening in its time. And we can't always rush these things because it doesn't benefit the greatest or all when we rush. And really, there's so much power in learning to be at peace with where you're at, because you can look like this owl. I mean, look at those eyes. What a direct, just gazing in your eyes going, you are fine, you're good. And it reminds me of something I wrote down before I started. It's the only notes that I have that I brought in. And I got this off of something someone posted on Facebook, and I apologize. I'll try to give them credit on my YouTube in the comments. But they said to move into 5D, and this was a channeling, to move into 5D, it's essential to keep you whole and that your energies are free of fear and anxieties and stress. Now hear this. It's really important that if you want to be moving into 5D, it is essential to keep you whole, your whole systems, your energetic systems. You have your mental mind, your emotional mind, your physical body, and your astral body. We are made up of these 4 different bodies that create the aura that manifest the physicality, all right? So it's really, really, truly important to maintain all of your bodies, all of yourself, and all of your energies free of fear. How many of you are sitting in fear about something? Fear is a great symptom. It shows you the way of something that is not in alignment with your higher self's core knowledge and belief of the unconditional love that you are. So fear is an amazing thing. it can direct you to exactly what you need to know. So there's no need to be in fear of it. Think of it as a symptom that it will lead you to what you need to know to release, to transform, to transmute, to shift, to let go of. Then they continued with trust that you will be taken care of. How many of you can sit in that knowingness that you will be taken care of? You can do that. And that's a beautiful place to be in meditation, to just be in trust that you will be taken care of. Trust that you have more than enough. Trust that you are being carried through. And I sit in that, and I can feel myself even relaxing when I focus on those, about trusting. And you're trusting into your own intuition. You're trusting, and that brings up a lot for people, right? They're like, oh, I don't have intuition, or it's not as strong or good enough that I think it should be. You have it. And you have a built-in higher self, spiritual team that is guiding you. And one thing I hear a lot of people is they're scared they're going to make the wrong decision. There's no wrong decision that you can make. Even if you go left and you were being guided to go right, they'll find a way to get you back to where you go. You just have to keep moving. Just keep moving and you'll be fine. Trust that you will be taken care of. Trust that you have more than enough, and trust that you are being carried through. And to assist your brain, because we have that left brain that questions everything, to assist your brain about this, just give them reminders of when it has happened, right? And it always usually happens when you least expect it and in ways that you never would have thought of. And you have to tell your left brain that, look, I don't know how it's going to happen, because the brain wants to know where, how, why, when. Chill, brain. It's going to happen. It's all good. And that is such a huge part of what we're all doing right now, is learning how to balance this left brain, right brain. The left brain that wants all of these immediate egoic. I'm terrible pronouncing words. Egoic side of challenging the intuition. And so we can go into that later, but feeling into it and realizing that you can talk back to that egoic self that wants to question and demand and undermine you. You can just say, hey, dude, chill. It's going to be okay. All right. So I love those answers about the meaning of the virus, about its transformation, or its evolution, about how it's transforming us, literally transforming us and allowing us to create the new, and the new being our own wisdom, our own acknowledgement of our knowledge. I love his eyes. I love those eyes. Perfect. Awesome. Well, great. So that was my first question. So the next one is something that's triggering a lot of people, which is good, right? So that's why the question is here. How can someone who lies all the time and is very self-centered continue to be honored by Americans? And I'm going to make an assumption that we're talking about President Trump. Could be someone else, I guess. I didn't ask for specifics. So I guess it doesn't matter. We'll stick with, how can someone who lies all the time and is very self-centered continue to be honored by Americans? And I am going, and okay, I'm really feeling called for Isis. I feel like Isis was why I put this Isis thing on my bracelet on earlier, was for this question. So I'm intrigued that Isis is the one that is going to assist us with this question. And I'm going to start here and see how it goes. And we may pull in other oracle cards, but I'm going to see what we get. So how can someone who lies all the time and is very self-centered continue to be honored by Americans? And utilizing the Isis oracle deck, by Elena Fairchild. I love this deck. Isis, I've never worked much with Isis until about a year ago. I got introduced to her and started really working with her, and she is a powerhouse. I mean, if you need someone to kick your butt and get you doing things, it's Isis. This has been my experience anyway. But what a wonderful energy. I love that energy. I love the let's just go get doing what we're supposed to be doing and get it done. So I love her. Oh, there we go. Okay, I have 2 cards that fell out. High Priestess. Just want to feel into this. High Priestess. Mysteries revealed in the eyes of Isis. How can someone who lies all the time and is very self-centered continue to be honored by Americans? So, as I'm feeling into this, High Priestess, I mean, they're powerful, right? And what I'm sensing and feeling is like the High Priestess, who I don't think was understood necessarily by the common people. Those that lie all the time, and here's the perception of what the High Priestess is not necessarily the same as what she actually is. That there's 2 sides, 2 faces. That what people see in the public eye and what is deeper or hidden, not revealed. The same actions that create the idea of being self-centered and lying, that there, just like duality, there's 2 sides to that the perception of lying and being self-centered, there's another benefit to that. Now, I'm not saying that Trump is a High Priestess. I'm not saying that at all. This card is representing the idea that the outer perception of what people think a High Priestess is and what they actually are, or the perception of someone that they see as lying and being self-centered and what they actually are, could be 2 different things. That there's a lot of smoke and mirrors going on. And it's similar to us. We all have aspects that we present to the public compared to maybe who we are when the doors are closed and we don't have the video camera on. We're not always the same. And it's not to say that we're bad, different, better than anyone else. We're just, and here, like I said, I'm really getting the feeling that there's a lot of smoke and mirrors going on. That what you see as the public image and what really is going on are 2 different things. I'm even getting the sense somehow that that there's more players. There's more players here that we are not aware of, that we can't see, that are part of creating the image. And I want to look up on the book what they say about High Priestess. High Priestess. What else does this have to share? So I'm just, what I do is I kind of glance, and whatever hits me is what I know needs to be about a card when I read this. And so they're talking about being offered assistance in unveiling divine destiny. And this destiny is going to be understood in a broader and more meaningful way than ever before. And that there can be aha moments as you experience life and the journeys that you're living. And then you can make it make sense from a bigger perspective and help you understand everything that's been going on, which when you have that higher perspective and you understand what's going on, it helps you to trust more about where you're being led. So it says you're guided to trust in the reveal. And I feel like that is what we're looking for here is don't get distracted by the public imagery, but trust in the reveal of what is going to be for the highest good of all. Don't get caught up in the details of black and white, but instead observe from a higher perspective the bigger picture of what can be revealed here eventually. And it's just not ready to be revealed yet, is what I'm getting. So the second card was initiation. Spiritual testing of Ra and the Lady Isis. Initiation. And so how can someone who lies all the time and be self-centered continue to be honored by Americans? And so what I'm getting here is like there is an initiation going on. Again, it's very, I almost want to say cloak and dagger. That, again, what you see and what it really is not necessarily the same. I want to pull another card. I want to pull another deck. Let me look at initiation first, but then I'm going to pull another deck. All right, so initiation. You're being spiritually initiated into the mysteries of light, love, and power. And there are moments of deep challenge. That's really appropriate for this question, because I really do feel like, you know, when you have this level, if this is about someone like Trump, who has great power, and these are definitely deeply challenging times. The key is to find the light within the challenge, the learning, growth, or wisdom that can be summoned to turn the challenge into an opportunity for healing. Yeah. Where is the ability to find the healing within this? All right, so Ra. So Ra here is the bird or hawk-headed man. And then the other one was Isis behind him. And they're talking about how the heat of Ra, he was the sun god, seeks to burn through any resistance. So to me, this speaks of resistance others might be having to what they're perceiving, that they are perceiving as being self-centered and lying. Because honestly, who of us has not lied? And, you know, self-centered is one of those words that I can always be a little challenged with, because my work has always been about getting people to be a little bit more self-centered so they can heal themselves. I don't want to have a judgment on this about Trump. It's very much his life, whether he's being self-centered in a giving way or a non-giving way. That's not my problem. And so I feel like there is an opportunity here about looking into your own resistance about the idea that someone who lies and is self-centered can be honored by Americans. So they're talking about Ra seeking to burn through the resistance, and then Lady Isis with compassion and cleverness will protect you from the burning and instead enable you to be nourished and grow from the light of Ra. Let Isis help you pass the test of intense growth as you thrive with new life. And so, you know, when I pull out Isis and Ra, you know, we live in a very Christian culture. You can substitute this for God if you want, for Jesus. But it's about finding forgiveness for others and the way they present themselves, and always realize that what you are seeing is not necessarily what others are seeing, and that what you are seeing is not the whole picture, that only by going above and seeing a higher perspective of all of these actions that you and I don't have access to really see the behind the behind the scenes events that's going on. And I feel like that's what's playing here is that there's more than meets the eye. All right, with that being said, I want to grab another deck here. Let me go for this. Well, I used this in the last one, and I'm curious about it. I want to use it a little bit more, which is the Soul Truth. These cards are just a little bit different. They have more writing on them. They do not have a book that goes with them. And so I want to ask them about, how can someone who lies all the time and is very self-centered continue to be honored by Americans? Let's continue that conversation and see what we can come up here about from these self-awareness deck. What kind of cards do you want? That's too big of a chunk. Me trying to get my hands around these cards. My hands need to be bigger to deal with this. Okay, feeling Kuan Yin here with us, so I'm going to ask her to assist in Saint Germain about picking out a card. Oh, and someone. Okay. So what fell out was, on whom am I placing blame right now? That's interesting, isn't it? So it says, a person who blames others has not begun their lesson. A person who blames themselves has begun their lesson. A person who blames no one has finished their lesson. Ooh, I like that. And I don't think I've heard that before. So let's read this again. A person who blames others has not begun their lesson. And, you know, do you understand that? That their lesson is to be reflective and to raise yourself above and to look at that higher perspective. A person who blames themselves, they've begun the lesson because they're looking inward now. They're looking to themselves about why they're reacting. It goes back to those trigger emotions, and if there's fear or anger, those are all symptoms, right? About how I talked about that earlier. So those symptoms allow you to start healing. start looking, allowing you to look inward, looking into what beliefs you have, what programming you've had, what indoctrinations that you've had that you believe. And the only reason you ever feel in fear or anger or unease is when your belief is not in agreement with a soul level love of unconditional love and acceptance. So when you can find complete peace within yourself, a person who blames no one, because you're no longer blaming yourself, but you're not blaming anyone else either, they have finished their lesson. Their lesson being what? Is there anyone to blame in a duality? We have to have, if there's black and white, there's always going to be two sides, right? You can't have the light completely obliterate the black, and you can't have the black completely obliterate the light. You have to find the balance between the two. And the only way you can do that is by rising above, looking at things objectively, and trying to understand not only where you're coming from, but where the other person is also coming from. To realize that I'm certainly not perfect, that I've certainly made mistakes in my life, that I have not always been what others have wanted me to be, and I'm not going to try anymore. So if I'm taking that stance that I'm going to be me, and I'm going to be truly authentic, and I'm not going to listen to other people's standards, I'm not going to do the shoulds and woulds and coulds that they think I should do, I now honor that in others. I am only responsible for myself. And if I give myself complete autonomy and sovereignty to be myself, then I have to give that to others. I can't have it for myself and no one else. There you go. That's the lesson. So they have a soul action on these cards. It says, take responsibility, right? The responsibility action is realizing that there's always going to be two viewpoints. And there's probably even more than that, right? There's always going to be at least two, though. Just because you have one doesn't make the other person wrong. They have their viewpoint, and in their view, they are right. So you can arise above and observe going, okay, I understand where I'm coming from. Where are they coming from? And that's, again, comes back about, their experiences, what they are doing. Behind the scenes stuff is so integral to their perceptions, to their truth. And because we can't see that, we can only see through our eyes and our filters, our experiences. So to give them the benefit of the doubt that their experience is their experience and they are allowed their truth. All right, I need a little drink. My voice is getting raspy. All right. Today's soul action. Take responsibility. On whom are you placing blame right now? Today, free yourself by releasing all victimhood, blame, and resistance. They don't belong where you are going. Can you hear that? Like, your experience does not have to be slowed down, does not have to be hindered by another person's action. All right? They don't belong where you are going. Only love and courage live there. Make a choice to do it, even if you don't feel ready. Listen to your heart, and you will be led. I like that. And this would be a great journaling exercise to look at taking responsibility for yourself on whom do you want to place blame right now, and free yourself of victimhood, blame, and resistance, about journaling, about where you feel, are you blaming someone? Do you feel like you've ever been blamed in that same way? Resistance, where's my resistance of where do I get triggered? And that's the symptom, right? What is that resistance look like? How long have I had that resistance? Is this the first time that I've ever had this resistance? Is this resistance something that I can identify? Is this resistance only with one person, or has it been with other people? Is this resistance something that my parents had? I mean, sometimes we get ancestral DNA and we have the same hang-ups that our parents did, right? So looking at that resistance and wanting to understand it more, wanting to look into yourself more is going to be the most powerful step that you can have here. And to remember that you can just let it go. You don't have to hold on to it because it's not about that's not where you're going. When we're headed towards 5D, as we're headed towards all these other things that are beautiful, that are empowering, you don't have to hold on to that. Only love and courage are where we are going. I love that. Only love and courage. And you can make the choice to do it, even if you don't feel ready. Sometimes it's just a step. Take a step into just doing a little bit of reflection. And like I said, the journaling would be really, really powerful. And in that journaling, what is your new choice? What are you choosing now? What, maybe it's, I know I could do this. What am I choosing that I know I can do? What am I choosing that I would like to be able to do but don't quite feel ready? What is a choice I could do that would be the biggest step, but maybe it's step 3, 4 down the line? That's okay. Journal it out, because then that's you starting to manifest. That's you starting to create the path to get you there. Listen to your heart. And so when you're journaling, take a moment after you've poured your heart out, after you've answered all these questions, pour your heart out and allow it to just bleed onto this paper. And then you're going to be in complete stillness because you'll feel completely drained. You have given everything. You've released it all. And in that peaceful moment, ask the simple question of, what would you want me to know now? And then start writing. And don't question what's coming through. Just write. Right away. Just blah, 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 blah. And I mean, don't stop. Just allow it to flow freely, and don't try to understand it or read it right away. This is something that with that question, let it just flow. And I've had clients who talked about that they have written for hours at this point. Allow that to flow and then read it the next day. And you are going to be amazed at the powerful information, the empowering sense and feelings that you get from there. If for any reason you're getting information that is not empowering, then check bait, and you need to go back and get out the stuff about earlier on, where you were asking the questions about the blame and where you're finding resistance. You don't want to go into that last step about what would you like me to know now until you're completely drained of everything else, and go into your heart to do that. Ask your heart. Your heart is where everything will pour out in the purest sense. Perfect. Excuse me. All right. I love that. I love that. All right, guys. I think those were 2 great questions. Truly wonderful questions. And can benefit anyone and everyone who is in on this power, who is on the journey of empowering themselves, of becoming enlightened, and those who are looking forward to the ascension and the 5D and the new world process. So thank you so much for joining me. I'm feeling like I need a card just to wrap it up, like a final card of the day as a gift for all of you for coming this far. So I want to go with the Kuan Yin Wild Woman. Elena Fairchild does Kuan Yin oracle cards that are beautiful, beautiful, like the Isis ones we were looking at earlier. These are a little bit different. Again, from her, still Kuan Yin, but a completely different vibe. But I love the wild idea, the wild woman idea. So just asking, as it means free. To me, if there's a freedom factor within that. freedom. I mean, that to me is one of the biggest words. Sovereignty. I am king, queen of my own realm, right here, right now. Nobody else. I only take care of me. And freedom to be able to do and go and be wherever I want to do. Because you have to have complete freedom to follow your heart. You can't live in someone else's expectations and be in freedom and, excuse me, and living in your heart. You know, I don't know how to do it. Tea is really hot still. All right. I'm going to wrap this up. I'm losing my voice. All right. All right. So this is the one that came out. Remember me, the Divine Mother Within. Pictures on these are a little more funky. They're very unique, though. Remember me, the Divine Mother Within. Oh, I love this because we've been talking so much about being, going within and doing the inner work. And inside of us, and the Kuan Yin energy, I mean, she's all about the Divine Mother, just like Mother Mary. They're very much sister energies in that they both are very nurturing, very healing, so accepting, so compassionate. And this card is all about remembering how to do that for yourself. How to go inside and be your own compassionate mother to yourself. Complete acceptance and love to yourself. Forgiveness is coming up, but you know, in many ways, we don't need forgiveness. This is a human concept, but if it makes you feel better, if it gives you a sense of relief, then forgiveness is very appropriate. The inner mother like this is looking out for all aspects of you. We have many times pieces of us that have, in a sense, broken off through traumas in our childhood, leaving these inner children orphaned, essentially. And as an example of that, you know, going back to my own childhood, of having, you know, my own emotional traumas and having a father that would be very vocal, and being as sensitive as I am, it was very painful to be yelled at, especially being told not to cry, trying to shut down my emotions to please him in his uncomfortableness with my emotions. And so it would shut off parts of me because I would literally try to stop crying. Unfortunately, I'm not good at it, and I would hyperventilate to the point where I would get sick. Where if I could just have cried, I would have been probably over it in 30 seconds. But the trauma being told not to have that emotion, me trying to shut it down, and then the physical reaction of trying to shut that down was very traumatizing to me and created an aspect, an inner child, who to this day does not deal with being yelled at or having a lot of real intense anger energy directed towards me. Would what I would call be a trigger for me. And done a lot of work around that, completely, you know, over blaming my father for that. I can look at him and see how he was reacting out of his own pain. You know, he had experienced the exact same thing that I did. He had been shut down as a child also. But now, as an adult, we can go inside and be our own mother energy of compassion to those aspects within us that have been wounded, that have still almost, my visual of that is like there's these children aspects who, it's almost like they go in corners. When I first started doing inner child work with my inner child, when I went in and discovered her, was hiding under a park bench that was in a train station. No, it was like a Greyhound station, a bus station. And there was a park bench, and she was hiding under it. Like there was lots of activity, and she just didn't want to have anything to do with it. She was in complete fear and just trying to protect herself. And we all have these little parts of ourselves, right, that are protecting themselves from the wounds that they had received. And so when I go and found my inner child, I had to coax her out from underneath that bench and reassure her that her experience was over, that I would protect her from now on, and that she would be safe to come out. And she was not the most trusting. She's not trusting at all. So it took a lot of time to convince her to move out from under, to come out from under that bench where she felt protected, and to get her to come out, to listen to me, to reconcile. And it took a while. I mean, it took us a while. I want to say it was probably a couple of years before she is where she is now, which when I check in with her, she's doing cartwheels in the grass in a park. That freedom, that expression, that playing in nature. She is so amazingly healed from those experiences. But it took a while, and it took that mother energy, this divine mother within, for me to go in and have the work with her, to reassure her, to get her to the point where she could feel safe again, that she could feel that I would protect her. They're not going to be able to be reconciled unless they feel like you have their best interest at heart. And that's the beautiful divine mother. And if you ever feel so inspired again about the journaling, about talking about the divine mother and about the inner aspects, those are a beautiful conversation that you can have, and you can play the different role, about my inner child said this, and then my divine mother said this. And you can even have the adult you having a third perspective of that conversation. But when you open yourself to those bigger picture perspective conversations, you are opening yourself to healing in a way that isn't offered in the general sense to most. And it's the most comprehensive way to do it on your own. There's other ways. You can do session work. I do a lot of session work with clients for these kind of things. But this is a way that you can do it at home without having to do it with someone else. And I would love to hear, if any of you try this, how it works for you, about journaling and about what kind of information you received. And did you see a benefit with that? What was an insight that surprised you? Those are the powerful ones that you go, whoa, I didn't even think of that before, right? And sometimes you're going to get a lot of information that you're like, well, I already know that. And so what I would say to that is that then you're not acting on that information. You might know the information, but you haven't taken it to heart and you haven't applied it to your life. And that would be the invitation, that if you're going to receive the same information over and over again, it's because you're not listening and you're not applying it to your life in a manner that they are trying to get through to you. So maybe there's some discovery aspects within that. All right. How wonderful. Thank you. And I want to thank Alexandra. She's the one that gave me these 2 questions, and I've got some more, but I'm going to save them for another video because this one is getting to be, so it looks like it's at least over an hour. So I think this was so much fun to get into this and to see what the bigger picture answers to these 2 amazing questions were. And I'm so thankful to have been able to do this. And I look forward to hearing from any and all of you about your experience and your thoughts about this process, about any journaling that you do and any other questions that you have, or what you're going through. What are you experiencing right now? That's the big challenge. I would love to hear about it. So thank you for spending this time with me, and have a blessed day. Namaste.